Molly seemed to just contain all of these aspects of Ruth that I felt were important. And then we met, and I realized that Molly thinks very deeply about things and is able to understand a lot of, even if she's not experienced things herself, to understand, all sorts of human emotions, and that we were going to work well together. Thematically, it was a really exciting place to shoot for me, because you've got these kind of prefabricated identical vans set in this sort of incredible, raw, unspoilt natural landscape. And that seemed to reflect the story for me, where, Ruth has to decide between whether she's going to live a prefabricated, quite conventional life, or whether she's going to go off and follow her more raw, natural instincts.
Oh God, I can't take any credit for the costumes. It was Grace Snell, who's the bloody genius that she is, doing all her magic work with the costumes, and worked so closely, from the impression that I got, with Joanna, and the sort of things that Joanna used to wear in those times, and what was kind of fashionable, and what was the kind of romantic attitude that she wanted to kind of represent with that. And it was so cool to dress so much cooler than I usually dress for like whatever, two months. I felt very sort of, I felt like an artist. It was really cool. And that kind of putting on that skin, and how it progresses and changes throughout the story, and in the second part as well, how it really represents how the character's feeling, and how, where she is in her life. So I can't play any part in that. So she's just a genius, Grace. She's fantastic.
I think Anna Carvey is wonderful. It came about because I first became aware of her work actually when she was doing a tribute to David Bowie at the Royal Albert Hall, and she did an amazing version of Lady Grinning Soul, which just absolutely blew me away. And I thought I would love to get her to contribute something to the film. And what happened is we eventually met. We met a number of times, and then I asked her to write something, but only after she'd seen the film. So I wanted to set up that she could watch the film for the first time, and then immediately respond to it. So we had to make sure. Well, she just was doing that at home, where she can record anyway. So she had everything set up with her guitar, watched the film, and then what you hear is her spontaneous.
I came on board, I guess it was about a year before we started filming, and I met Caitlin. She was a massive hero of mine. I loved the book. I was super nervous to meet her, and kind of realized actually that my main job on this entire project is to sort of be a conduit for her voice, and obviously it's always like that as a director. You're working with the text, and you're working with that original story. But I felt, and I still feel with Caitlin, it's so kind of it's so much more important than that, because it's so present and living, her writing, and it's about politics. It's about young people now. It's about how a young girl perceives herself when she looks at herself writ large on a screen. I mean, it just had an added kind of challenge and kind of responsibility actually coming on board all the way through filming and through the edit. Caitlin's kind of collaborative thing, and actually all of us, don't you think, Caitlin? All of us, the producers, we were all just a gang, kind of trying to make it as good as it could be. And
everyone really believed it. It was a very sweet project to work on, because it was such a female dominated process. We had 3 female directors, 3 female producers, female director. Our cast was mainly female. The crew was very female, and there are so many issues in it. Just, we've got menstruation, masturbation, sex not being bad, walking into a sexist environment, like all these things that if you were working with a mainly male crew and cast, you'd have to explain it to them. But every woman on that set got it, and it prompted a lot of conversations, people talking about their first times, bad experiences they'd had. So it felt like a little quest. We were like a little gang going, yeah, here's a list of things that hopefully you've never seen on screen before, and we're going to give it to all these girls in the world. They're going to finally see themselves on a screen in situations that they know about, and hopefully that will be amazing for them.
I was going to say the sanitary towel became the kind of the most feminist thing that I probably have ever done in my whole career.
Yes,
Get that thing on screen.
yeah. So there's a scene where Johanna's doing PE on her period, and she does a roly-poly and her sanitary towel falls out, something that most of us have had some kind of similar experience to. And there was a huge conversation about what the sanitary towel should look like kind of how much stainage there should be on there, what day it would have been. I was sort of very pro the fact that it wouldn't be the first day of her period, because she would have like skived off if it was the first day. So it must be towards the end where it's all a bit more rusty and minimal. So that was a big, intense intellectual debate about how much stainage there was on this sanitary towel. One of my favourite days in my career. It's so great that you got misguided on that, because one of the things we were really keen on was to make sure that this was a character, a big girl, and that none of the jokes came from the fact that she was big. Like, it's sort of, not to diss other people's projects or whatever, but like, Rebel Wilson in Pitch Perfect, nearly every joke in that is about her being fat Amy. And like, the girl's body shapes and sizes have changed so much. And I just really wanted to put a girl on screen who was big and beautiful and confident with it. And none of the humor came from people either teasing her about it, making her feel bad about it, or her making self-deprecating jokes about it. She's just there. She loves herself and she wants you to love her as well.
With my daughter, she was a massive fan of the book when she was 14, and she it was like a clandestine thing. It was like a little, secret that she and her mates had, that they were reading this quite rude book that they loved. And so when I invited her and all her mates to come to a screening of the film, they were literally sort of beside themselves, because it was the sort of hero worshipping thing with Catelyn, but it was also just that they saw themselves on the screen, seriously, literally for the first time. They were just they were being seen, they were being noticed.
The story is the story of any teenage girl who wants to communicate in the world. And the bad news is you won't get paid for it like you did in the 90s. But the good news is anyone can do it now.
She and I are so different. And what's often you hope happens in that case, is that somebody brings you something new, challenges you, and brings something out of you that is something you're not used to. And I think that's what happened with her and I. We became great friends, which is not always the case. But I have so much respect for her and admiration of her. This is a very difficult film to shoot and a difficult film to cut, and I think she did a wonderful job.
I think we look at women as sort of pregnant women, especially, that you're supposed to be careful and radiant and nurturing, and I just wanted Zoe to be the opposite of that, to just be a bit dangerous. I wanted to push the boundaries of what the audience would think was acceptable behavior. But honestly, I watched Rose on set in one of the scenes where she cries, so many, where she just goes there, and I was like, oh. She's just there's just such an ease about her performance in the film that I was like, I'm never acting again. That's it. Like, I can't believe how good she is.